Hi, princes and princesses. It's Melanie, and I'm checking in with you. I had my 4-month post-op visit with the nutritionist today. I'm not doing a weigh-in because it's not my weigh-in day, and even though I did weigh in at the office, I'm going to save that for my weigh-in day. But I wanted to go over with you how my 4-month post-op visit went. Apologize for my hair. The AC is not working properly in my car, so I was riding today with my windows cracked, so I'm windblown. Anyway, blood draws, as you can see here and here and here. I had a lot of blood drawn today. I'll go over the list of tests with you in just a second, but as a duodenal switch patient especially, it's really important that we monitor my labs and blood levels of the different vitamins and minerals and things that I have to take, because the risk of malnutrition from the malabsorptive procedure is very high. It's a very real thing. So that's one of the things that DS patients need to know, and you need to know this before you go into it, is that you are going to have to stay diligent on your blood levels, and your medical team is going to have to know this. And if you don't plan on following up with your surgeon's office for the rest of your life, then your primary care doctor needs to be on board. And I recommend getting a copy of the lab tests that you're going to have and give it to your primary doctor and say, "Doc, these are the tests that I'm going to have, and I'm going to have you request these every 6 months, and we're going to have to stay on top of it." It's that important, because these things, they concern your life and how you function. I had the labs drawn, and I came back here to my office, and I hadn't been here just a couple of minutes, and my phone rang, and it was the lab. And they called me and said, yeah, can you come back in? We had a problem with one of your tubes, and we're going to need to redraw. And I'm thinking, okay. So they called me back in, and they said that they had spun my tubes up just right as I left, and one of them had blood clots in it. So I don't know what caused that. They said that after the redraw, they'd spin it right up, and if there were any more problems, that they would be sure to let me know, because then that would be a problem. But my phone hasn't rang yet, so hopefully it was just a fluke. Anyway, when I went into registration this morning after I met with the nutritionist, I had to go to registration for them to get my lab order to get me to the lab where I can have my blood drawn. And the lady at registration printed off my order, and she was like, "My God, who's your doctor again?" And I told her it was Dr. Williams, and she said, "Wow, normally his weight loss surgery patients only have like 1 page of labs, and you've got 3. And I said, "Well, I had the big dog surgery. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of labs, and I'm prepared for that." She says, "Okay." She says, "They might as well just draw a pint off of you and take the tubes off of it." So anyway, here, she actually had printed off 2 copies of my lab order, and she asked me if I wanted a copy, and I'm like, yeah. So here's a copy of my lab order and all the different pages. Let me tell you what we drew today. We drew the comprehensive metabolic panel, which is kind of the basic, here's everything, and I believe it also includes things like cholesterol and all of that sort of stuff. We drew a complete blood count, which is going to tell like red cells and white cells and all of that. Vitamin B12, and that's important for proper nerve function. We drew an iron panel, which measures the iron levels in the blood, and then they drew ferritin, which measures iron stores in the body, how much is stored versus how much is free in the blood. We drew vitamin D, and of course vitamin D deficiency can interfere with how the body absorbs calcium, and it can also be an indicator of bone loss and that sort of thing. We drew magnesium, which also regulates calcium. We drew vitamin A, folic acid, parathyroid hormone, which helps diagnose the cause of low or high calcium levels. So we'll do a lot of calcium checking up on. We drew copper, we drew zinc, selenium, okay, C-reactive protein, which detects inflammation in the body, vitamin E, vitamin K, let's see, prealbumin, which detects malnutrition, TSH, that also evaluates the thyroid function, T4, it's another thyroid test, and phosphorus. And that's a lot of tubes there, a lot of things we're going to be checking on. So that's probably, they said I should probably have all my results in about 2 weeks. So that was that. I met with the nutritionist, and one of the things she asked me for was a food diary, and I didn't have like an entire food diary with me, but I did do, I wrote down on a page what a sample day for me is like, what I typically eat in a normal day. And she went over that with me, and she said it looks good. I had been shooting for between 100 and 120 grams of protein a day. They've now bumped me up to 145 grams of protein a day. Carbs are going to stay the same, 30 to 60, and I'm trying to shoot for the low end. Fat, they say under 30 grams. That's debatable because a duodenal switch patient doesn't absorb that much fat, but for right now, I'm going to try and stick to that. And of course, greater than 64 ounces of fluid, and I'm getting better on my fluids. They advanced me to what they call phase 4 eating, which means all my lean meats, all lean meats are okay, so including red meat, ground beef, all seafood and fish, eggs, cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, beans, protein bars, fruits and vegetables, whole grains, and whole wheat starches. So they said I can have some starches as tolerated, but it's got to be like whole stuff. No alcohol, no fried foods, no refined sugar, no sugar desserts, no white bread, no white starches, no white flour, no white sugar, white rice, that sort of thing. None of that. They say now that I need to start shooting to try and eat 4 to 6 ounces per meal. I don't see that happening. Eat the protein first, veggie or fruit second, and the starch last. I can't eat that much. Sometimes I can, but not every time. So I do better, and I talked to her about this. Instead of doing three meals a day, that's tough for me because I just can't hold it. And I seem to do better if I have something smaller every 3 hours. And she said that's fine. She says as long as it's not like mindless snacking, which I'm not doing. I'm not doing that. There are times when I actually sometimes have to force myself to eat. Breakfast is a hard one for me. I pretty much have to keep breakfast liquid because to eat, I just don't have very good luck with it. I had some Quest multi-purpose mix protein, which is really good, and I made some pancakes yesterday, and I ate about half of one, and that was a struggle to get that down. So just especially in the morning, I just don't do well eating in the morning. I do better drinking my breakfast. So the disheartening thing with meeting with the nutritionist today, for my weigh-in, they said that I had lost like 30-something% of my excess body weight. And I said, oh, well, how am I on track? She said, well, we'd really like to see 40% by this time. And my heart just hit the floor. I was like, oh, Lord. I was thinking to myself, and this is supposed to be the time post-op where I'm losing weight the fastest. And if I'm not losing it fast enough now, what's it going to be like a year from now, a year and a half from now? Am I going to make it? Is this worth it? Have I done the right thing? It was disheartening for me. And I think I may know what I've done. I think I've sabotaged myself because I have fallen under the romance of net carbs. Thank you, Atkins misadvertising. If you look at the Atkins plan and the Atkins products, like their bars and whatnot, it's all about the net carbs. And they tell you to calculate net carbs as total carbohydrates minus fiber minus sugar alcohols. And then the leftover number is your net carbs, and that's what you should count. Well, yesterday and today I did a little bit of research and I found some medical journal articles, and they're saying that ain't necessarily so. That net carbs are really and truly only intended for like type 1 diabetics, people that really have to monitor their blood glucose and insulin levels. And even then, it should be total carbs minus insoluble fiber minus 1/2 of soluble fiber minus 1/2 of sugar alcohols, but only if they are not erythritol. If it's erythritol, then you can't subtract any of it. So it involves very detailed label reading, which I can do, but to be honest, that rule doesn't apply to me. I'm not diabetic. I don't test my blood sugar every day, and blood sugar is not what I care about. What I care about is what I absorb. So they say if you're not type 1 diabetic and you're not something where you're having to monitor blood sugar and all that sort of thing, that you really should count them all. So I'm going to have to bite the bullet and count them all. Everything. Because normally the labels don't say if it's insoluble fiber or soluble fiber. They just say dietary fiber. Well, it could be soluble, which means all of it. Soluble means to absorb. So I think it's deceptive marketing when they say, oh, only 2 net carbs. Here, you can have this chocolate nougat peanut caramel Snickers looking bar, and it's only 2 net carbs, and you can just roll around in it. Not so fast. And I should have known it. Stupid me. I should have known. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So guys, read the labels, read the labels, read the labels. Just because it says protein all over it doesn't mean it's really protein. Like, okay, for example, here's a great example. Special K, Kellogg's. All healthy and happy and, let's just be skinny mini, right? You see Special K protein drinks. Big old protein all over the bottle. Well, look at the label. 10 grams of protein. Really? Okay, 10 grams of protein. Okay, so it's got some protein. You know how many carbs that thing has? 29. And most of them are sugar. 29 carbs for 10 grams of protein. I don't think so, Scooter. 29 carbs is pushing 30, and 30 is what I can have for an entire day. You tell me this little bitty bottle is got all the carbs I can have for a day. That means I can't have anything else. No vegetable or nothing. No. I'm going to be really stingy with my carbs. I'm going to count everything. And those cheater bars from Atkins, I'm talking to you, are done. They are out of my house. If I can't get my bang for the buck, then I don't want it, because I paid too much for this, emotionally and physically and money-wise, for it to be freaking sabotaged off of bullshit marketing. So I'm hauling my ass to the gym, and whether or not my husband comes, he says he's going to, but you know, you know, but I'm doing this because I'm not about to have this taken from me, because this was my very last chance. So anyway, I'm sorry that it's been another pissed off princess post. I love all of y'all, and I really appreciate everybody's support, and I just hope that maybe I can be an example of what not to do. Don't believe the freaking net carb hype. A carb is a carb when it comes to weight loss surgery patients, because not every one of us are type 1 diabetic. I know I'm not. So just count them all, and that way you don't make a mistake like I did. Love all of y'all, and I'll see you on weigh-in day. Sparkle on.